In Chapter 1, Levira, named after a persistent weed, lives in the dust, a barren land where survival is tough. Known for her resilience, she fights with Akmar, who insults her and tries to steal her prize, a scrap of mysterious paper. After being scolded by her aunt, Levira continues her chores, feeling disconnected from her community, including her growing frustration with Akmar. She wishes for a life beyond the dust, believing her scrap is a clue to something more. As she works at the well, Levira senses someone approaching in the distance, hinting at a change in her life. In Chapter 2, Levira and the settlers are shocked by the arrival of a stranger in their isolated settlement, which is followed by a group of sabbers. Levira's excitement turns to fear as the sabber, a towering creature, declares the settlers his property. Despite attempts by the men to resist, the sabber easily defeats them, and the settlers scatter in panic. Levira is captured with other children and bound together, led away by the sabbers. As they march through the dust, Levira struggles with her fear, thoughts of escape, and the loss of her aunt. The children continue their journey, enduring harsh conditions. In Chapter 3, Levira and the other children are captured after an ambush by sabbers. Selly is killed, and the group is dragged through the dust by soldiers led by Malar. They endure a harsh journey toward a distant city, growing increasingly suspicious of the soldiers' intentions. Along the way, Levira learns that Malar is respected for killing a sabber. The group is attacked by a dust bear, and Levira saves Malar. They finally reach the city, where Malar explains that the people are allocated tasks in exchange for food and shelter. Levira wonders about the city's true purpose. In Chapter 4, Ever is focused on building a staircase to the ceiling of the library, believing it may be his way out. His brother Starval critiques his progress, but Ever remains determined. He's haunted by a missing memory, convinced someone is out there and needs him. Meanwhile, the siblings continue their unusual lives within the library, each honing unique skills. Ever has no special gift, but his need to escape grows. Clovis, his sister, challenges him to a fight, revealing her hardened nature. Ever tracks her, fearing a dangerous escape lurking in the library's stacks, and becomes the hunted. In Chapter 5, Ever is pursued by a dangerous escape, which is unlike any he has faced before. As he desperately runs through the stacks, the escape grows more threatening, absorbing knowledge to become stronger. After a brief confrontation, Clovis arrives and kills the escape, saving Ever. She reveals that Carol sent him out to lure the creature, using him as bait. Ever is angry, but realizes he was manipulated. They then discover a massive book tower which collapses under their efforts. Amid the wreckage, Ever finds a mysterious book, which he instinctively recognizes as significant, though he can't yet understand its contents. In Chapter 6, Levira arrives in the bustling city of Krath, feeling overwhelmed by the crowds. She faces hostility from locals and punishment from Malar for asking too many questions. At a large building, Levira witnesses stark social divisions and meets a mysterious man in gray who takes an interest in her. Despite her fear, she speaks strange words to a white-robed guardian, which intrigues him. A man in gray allows her entry, wishing her luck. Levira walks down a corridor with the princess in green and gold, explaining that she declared war, though she doesn't know the meaning of the words she used. In Chapter 7, Levira undergoes an assessment at a strange building, where her skills are tested in mathematics and reading. She struggles with writing and is mocked by others, but impresses with her mental arithmetic. Despite her abilities, the evaluators dismiss her, with some labeling her a cheat. Master Ute, who has been observing her, disagrees with their judgment, and after the tests, he reveals that he wasn't testing Levira but the others. He offers her a role in the library, suggesting she could bypass the usual allocation system. Levira, despite doubts, follows him, intrigued by his offer. In Chapter 8, Evar is surprised to discover he can read a language he didn't know existed, and the book addresses him personally. This triggers strange sensations within him, but he keeps this discovery to himself. As he follows Clovis through the library's towers, they discuss the mysteries of their ancestors and the library's strange presence of a pool. Afterward, Clovis reveals that she destroyed the escape, and Evar tries to divert attention from the book. The soldier, a mysterious figure who raised them, acknowledges Evar's new book but says little. Evar remains unsettled by the experience. In Chapter 9, Evar follows the soldier to the reading room, where the mechanism trembles, signaling the formation of an escape. After the soldier destroys 2 escapes, a third wreaks havoc, and the brothers hide from a massive insect-like creature. Ever sees the escape attack the assistant before Starvel intervenes, urging Ever to flee. As the creature charges, Ever runs toward the mechanism which pulls the escape in. Though Evar survives, the assistant is visibly damaged, and Evar feels guilty for not saving her. The brothers sense a strange pull from the mechanism, hinting at their own connection to it. In Chapter 10, Ute takes Levira through the city, explaining his parasol and sharing details about the environment. They reach a tower, where Ute's companion Salamanda greets Levira with kindness but criticism, offering her a new dress and a meal. After eating, Levira enjoys a bath, contrasting it with her earlier experience. Ute and Levira discuss Salamanda's home and her role as the housekeeper. Levira is puzzled by Ute's relationship to the house, noting how out of place he seems in his own home. The chapter hints at deeper mysteries surrounding their lives in the city. In Chapter 11, Ute leads Levira to a hidden entrance of the library, passing guards and explaining the different roles of staff. Inside, Levira is introduced to Master Heath Logaris, who is in charge of the trainee section. After a brief exchange with Ute, Levira is assigned to a group of children, tasked with learning to read and write under Logaris' stern instruction. He explains the complexities of language and the importance of finding knowledge within the library's vast collection. Levira must quickly adapt to this new, demanding environment or face Logaris' displeasure. In Chapter 12, Levira continues her learning at the library. She questions the source of the light, and the trainees explain that it's library magic, though Arpix dismisses the idea. They notice Levira's injuries, and she briefly shares her recent battles. The group moves to the dining hall, and afterward, Carlotte shows Levira to her new room. Levira is amazed by the space, which offers comfort and privacy. Alone, grief overwhelms her, and she is consumed by sorrow over the destruction of her past life. Despite finding safety in food, Levira feels guilty for the pain that brought her here. In Chapter 13, Ever and Starvel navigate the aftermath of the escape, reflecting on their roles within the group. Starvel claims that Ever is the glue holding them together, as he's the only one who still connects with the others. The group regroups to discuss the escalating dangers from the escapes. Carol reveals that the mechanism leaks excess creative energy, which manifests as dangerous, aggressive creatures. Tensions rise as they debate who is responsible for the leaks, with suspicions pointing toward external forces. Evar reveals the book he's holding may hold crucial answers, and the assistant takes interest in it, adding to the mystery. In Chapter 14, Ever reflects on his brother Malin's fascination with mythology, particularly the origin story of existence, which linked knowledge, sin, and the creation of the first library. Evar, still seeking answers, examines a mysterious book containing a message to find someone at the bottom. As Evar navigates the stacks, he encounters the soldier, who warns him against his dangerous quest. The soldier reveals a deep, unsettling attachment to the woman Ever seeks, and for the first time, displays a rare emotional reaction. Ever remains determined to find the person in the book, convinced the answers lie below the library. In Chapter 15, Levira learns about the role of a house reader, someone hired by the wealthy to read and summarize books, especially those approved by the king. Arpix explains the library's central role in the kingdom, describing it as the source of truth that upholds the king's authority. Levira also meets Sarah Leader, a former university hopeful-turned-librarian, who hints at Levira's future as a house reader. In class, Levira struggles with learning to read and write, but begins to appreciate the power of written language. Meanwhile, Lord Alger's unexpected visit raises tensions, signaling trouble ahead. In Chapter 16, Levira and her companions embark on a journey to the library where they must locate Alger's book within 2 days. Along the way, Levira reflects on the harsh views others hold about her people, the Dusters. Upon reaching the library, they are greeted by guards who let them through a door that melts away, revealing an immense chamber filled with towering bookshelves. Levira and her classmates discuss their status as Dusters and the prejudice they face, especially from Lord Alger, who sees Levira's intelligence as a threat to his political power. In Chapter 17, Levira and the group search for a book within the vast library, where multiple indexing systems make the task daunting. Arpix explains the library's complexity, its historical significance, and the power struggles behind the indexing systems. The group discusses the elusive nature of assistants who might help, but Arpix warns of the dangers of wandering the library unassisted. Despite their warnings, Livira sneaks away, climbing the towering shelves, determined to explore the library's depths. After a risky leap, she injures herself but continues her search, leaving behind a trail of books as she ventures deeper into the library. In Chapter 18, Ever struggles with frustration over the soldier's duties to protect people long dead, questioning the worth of his protection. After some reflection, he becomes fixated on a cryptic message from a book. Find me at the bottom. Believing the answer lies at the bottom of the pool, Ever jumps in, terrified of the dark depths but determined. After resurfacing, he decides to gather metal to weigh himself down and descend faster. As he prepares, Ever reflects on a sense of urgency and accelerating change within the library, sensing a deeper, mysterious connection to a woman linked to the book. In Chapter 19, Livira explores the vast and disorienting library, overwhelmed by its scale and complexity. She encounters strange books, gaps in the shelves, and an eerie mechanical humanoid. As she navigates through endless aisles, she discovers a corridor with a white door, which opens for her without a key. Inside, she finds another chamber and a humanoid figure seemingly abandoned. She struggles through a maze, marking her path with books and creating a map to find an exit. However, her journey is interrupted by strange screeches, and when she follows the noise, a raven steals her map, forcing her to give chase. In Chapter 20, Livira chases a raven that steals her map, eventually following it to a shelf where she finds a book from which she had torn the map's page. After returning the page, the raven leads her deeper into the library, where she encounters a black mist that seems to absorb light. After struggling through the darkness, she discovers a book with shifting light, revealing her ability to manipulate it. She realizes the raven's odd behavior may be guiding her in ways she doesn't fully understand. Livira's frustration grows as she navigates the maze-like library, facing both physical and mental exhaustion. In Chapter 21, Ever struggles in a mysterious pool, holding onto scrap metal despite the desperate need for air. Determined to find an exit from his life in the library, he sacrifices himself to this unknown path, only to emerge in a lush, verdant forest with pools scattered around. Ever is struck by the beauty and strangeness of his surroundings. He explores the pools, unsure of where they lead, while the memory of a woman haunts him. When he encounters a dark pool with a hand reaching from it, he instinctively feels compelled to help, suspecting it may be connected to her. In Chapter 22, Livira struggles with an increasingly tired Raven Guide while exploring the library. She discovers a locked, massive book matching the alphabet on her scrap of paper. After a frustrating attempt to open it, she realizes the raven is guiding her to a mysterious stone woman, lying near a circle of shimmering light. Livira examines the woman, noting her stone-like body and a peculiar indentation on her forehead. She contemplates the mystery and the potential for hidden secrets behind the shimmering light. Despite her hesitation, Livira decides to investigate further, sensing danger but drawn by curiosity. In Chapter 23, Ever encounters Livira, a young girl who emerges from a mysterious black pool. She explains that she came from the library and is searching for a book. Ever, who is also seeking someone, learns that the pools may lead to different places and that there may be multiple assistants. He finds a book, Reflections on Solitude, which Livira identifies as the one she's after. As they discuss their quests, Evar realizes his search is deeply personal, involving a woman he's been searching for his whole life. However, before they can go further, Livira is pulled into the pool by a gray hand. In Chapter 24, Livira struggles with the aftermath of being torn from the exchange, where she encountered Ever and the mysterious assistant. She tries to re-enter the circle of light, but is blocked. Livira, now carrying both a book and a raven, decides to return to her mission, feeling revitalized by the energy of the exchange. She navigates the library, contemplating its chaotic mysteries, and finds herself climbing shelves to place the raven in a higher perch. However, she encounters another assistant and is reprimanded for bringing food into the library. As she argues, she falls from the shelves. In Chapter 25, Livira wakes in a strange circular clearing after falling and encounters an assistant holding a book, Reflections on Solitude. She learns that the library's system is disorganized, making it hard to find books. The assistant offers little help but points her to an exit, and Livira runs through the labyrinth to find her friends. She discovers them exhausted and distressed, but returns the book to Arpix just in time for class. Master Logaris praises their efforts, and Levira reflects on her exhaustion, silently grateful for the outcome despite the challenges. In Chapter 26, Ever attempts to find the girl Levira in a mysterious pool but is unable to enter it. He eventually leaves, contemplating whether the pools will ever allow him in again. At another pool, he finds himself transported to a new world that seems similar to his own but different. Ever realizes he's a ghost, unable to interact with the people, and witnesses a strange community. Later, he encounters a family with a child who bears a striking resemblance to his sister Clovis. Suddenly, attackers burst in, killing the family, and Ever desperately tries to protect the girl. In Chapter 27, Levira, now a seasoned trainee, reflects on her time in the library and the odd memory of Ever, a young man she once encountered. She has searched for answers about the library's origins and the exchange, but has found little. Her quest for knowledge leads her to a mysterious book about the library's creation, which mentions two brothers, Irad and Jaspith, at odds over knowledge. After a challenging task set by Master Logaris, Levira ventures outside for the first time in 2 years. In the city, she meets Salamanda, who reveals Ute has been watching over her. Levira eventually confronts Ute, who hints at a deeper mystery involving the library's curse. In Chapter 28, Levira and Arpix are on their way to deliver books to the laboratory. They discuss a conversation Levira had with Deputy Ute about fiction and the library's role in shaping knowledge, revealing Ute's views on stories. As they navigate the city, they encounter a man who tries to attack them but is stopped by Malar, a familiar figure from Levira's past. Malar, now a hired guard, tells them about the dangerous conditions outside the city and shares disturbing news about the Sabbers. Upon reaching the laboratory, an explosion occurs, knocking them down as a greenish-yellow cloud envelops them. In Chapter 29, Clovis and her injured mother are pursued by Sabbers after a massacre. They seek refuge in a reading room and then head towards the mechanism. Clovis's mother, bleeding from a wound, insists they run and hide, while Clovis is forced to carry the book her mother used as a weapon. As Sabbers close in, the mechanism activates, releasing the assistant and soldier, who fight the Sabbers with brutal efficiency. Despite their help, the chaos continues, and the assistant is pulled into the mechanism, followed by the soldier. Evar, witnessing the carnage, decides to leave, unable to watch any longer. In Chapter 30, Levira, Arpix, and Malar are exposed to a toxic greenish-yellow gas after an explosion at the laboratory. Levira struggles to find safety, using a wet cloth to shield herself and Arpix from the poison, and rescues Malar despite the worsening fumes. Once the cloud clears, alchemists arrive to administer antidotes. Levira reveals she learned about the wet cloth technique from a book. Afterward, they meet Hiago Abdallah, who downplays the incident but acknowledges the dangers of their work. Levira reflects on the cycle of progress and the potential consequences of wielding dangerous knowledge. In Chapter 31, Levira continues her pursuit of Deputy Ellis through the library. She skillfully tracks him, using her knowledge of the library's layout to avoid detection. She faces physical and mental challenges, including vertigo and a dangerous fall into spiderwebs, but remains focused on her goal. Levira carefully selects paths, climbing ladders, and using bridges to move swiftly. Eventually, she spots Ellis entering a reading room with a book in hand, prompting her to follow him inside, wondering why he would travel so far to read in this room. In Chapter 32, Levira abandons stealth to confront the strange structure in the reading room, suspecting it is where Ellis went. She waits for hours, eventually falling asleep. Upon waking, she finds the door slightly ajar and cautiously enters, discovering a gray, empty room. Stepping inside, she is plunged into darkness and overwhelmed with sudden knowledge of a distant battlefield. Terrified, she realizes she is inside her dark book and experiences a primal fear as an alien creature attaches to her. In panic, she calls for help, and suddenly she is back in the gray room holding the black book and a feather from the raven. In Chapter 33, Ever, still haunted by the brutal memories of a massacre, encounters a young woman named Levira, who claims to be someone he once knew as a child. Despite her insistence, Ever is confused by her transformation and their conflicting memories. Levira shares her journey, including her experiences with the mechanism and her struggles to find the raven, while Ever reflects on his family's history within the library and his complicated relationship with Clovis. As they discuss their past and the threat of sabbers, Ever contemplates his next move in finding the woman from his book. In Chapter 34, Levira explores the library, uncovering forbidden chambers with decaying books and rusted shelves. After discovering an assistant's lifeless body, she realizes its touch is necessary to access certain portals. Levira and Ever theorize that the shifting columns and rows manipulate worlds and time. They experiment with a new portal, but Levira is injured by poisonous air, while Ever reveals his vision of another world. As the library faces an unknown force, the two are attacked by dark, monstrous creatures. Ever uses his skills to fight, but they are overwhelmed and fall into another part of the library. In Chapter 35, Ever struggles to protect Levira as escapes close in on him. After battling several monsters, he finds himself in a new library chamber where he encounters an assistant identical to his own but flawless. The assistant silently guides him toward a dark passage, leading Ever through a series of chambers. He faces disorienting darkness, but eventually emerges into a star-filled void, where a city below seems poised for attack. Ever realizes the city is under threat from a much larger force, and his failed attempts to save Levira weigh heavily on him as he confronts the looming danger. In Chapter 36, Levira finds herself trapped with a corrupted assistant pursuing her through the library. After a tense chase, she barely escapes by using a ladder to cross aisles, but the assistant relentlessly follows. Levira eventually reaches a portal, which only opens for the Raven, not for the assistant, which is rejected by the magic. Once safe, she reflects on recent events, including her separation from Ever and the books she's been writing in the labyrinth. She decides to document her thoughts, focusing on the complexities of life and Ever's vulnerability, hoping her story will continue through fiction. In Chapter 37, Levira continues her research to find Ever Eventari, but the library proves difficult. Tensions rise in the city as sabbers raid more frequently, and political unrest grows. Levira's advancement to a new training table comes with increased responsibility, attracting scrutiny from Deputy Ellis, who tries to undermine her. Levira learns she might be dismissed and feels betrayed by Master Yute's detachment. She is unexpectedly summoned to his house with Milan, facing uncertainty about her future. Their conversation reveals deeper tensions about money, identity, and their evolving relationship, while they prepare for the meeting. In Chapter 38, Levira, Milan, and Malar journey through Krath City, discussing the city's hardships, including the growing number of war veterans and refugees. Malar reveals that sabbers are a threat in the city, and their motives remain unclear, with rumors they may be fleeing something. They arrive at Yute's house, where Salamanda jokes about Levira's appearance, and Ute shows his sorrow over his lost daughter. The group heads to a palace for a diplomatic event where Levira observes Milan's sister leader being appointed a diplomat. Tension builds as Levira realizes she might face public censure herself. In Chapter 39, Ever explores an ancient city overwhelmed by its size, variety, and people. He marvels at the architecture, vibrant clothing, and scents, feeling both fascinated and out of place. As he wanders, he encounters fleeting visions of familiar faces, including his brothers and Clovis, before realizing they are merely ghosts of his past. Ever observes the tension in the streets and learns of an impending battle as fires erupt around the city. The enemy, sabbers, prepare to attack. Evar, disillusioned by violence, walks away, reflecting on the weight of power and its consequences. In Chapter 40, Levira attends a tense meeting with King Oenold, where Ute asserts her position as a librarian, despite the king's opposition due to her dust origins. Ute's defiance leads to an encounter with Lord Alger, who warns of consequences. Soon after, they are ambushed by an assassin, Janikar, whom Malar defeats, though he is injured. The group retreats for medical care, and Levira reflects on Ute's motivations. Ute discusses the library's role in society, explaining that civilizations reach a fire limit, where they advance enough to destroy themselves. He shares his intention to slow things down, though he doubts it will prevent disaster. In Chapter 41, Levira is rattled by the appearance of a sabber in Krath City, narrowly escaping its attack before soldiers kill it. She feels guilt and anger over failing to protect Milan. At Ute's house, she argues about the city's defense, but he dismisses her concerns, emphasizing the dangers of too much power. Levira continues her search for answers, particularly about the head librarian. Her quest leads her to Yamala's quarters, hoping to find a way back to the exchange and Ever. Livira breaks into Yamala's room, risking exposure, driven by her desire to rescue Ever and uncover the truth. In Chapter 42, Livira narrowly escapes being discovered in the private library of the head librarian, Yamala. She finds a rare book after overcoming several challenges, including a magical black hound guarding the library. After securing the book, she evades the hound and Yamala's potential arrival, narrowly escaping the library. Back in her quarters, Livira is confronted by her friends, who gossip and tease her about her love life. Despite the distractions, Livira focuses on unlocking the mysterious book. However, when she returns to her room, she is shocked to find the black dog waiting for her, ready to confront her. In Chapter 43, Livira grapples with guilt and fear after stealing a rare book. She struggles to open it, but a mysterious black dog appears, seemingly guarding the book. Arpix visits her, and together they discover the book is not locked in the traditional sense. Its spine hides a mechanism that opens it. The book contains stories about the exchange, but Livira struggles to decipher its meaning and risks her position by continuing her search. Eventually, the dog coughs up a black feather, which may be connected to the raven Livira needs to summon. She prepares to move forward with Arpix. In Chapter 44, Livira and Arpix hide the forest between in a library before attempting to access Forbidden Chamber 7. They call for Valente, the head librarian's hound, who eventually leads them to the door. After some confusion, they realize Valente cannot open it. Livira recalls a book she saw years ago in Chamber 7 and asks the dog to fetch it. Valente leads them to a humanoid metal guide who, after a loud bark from Valente, awakens. The guide speaks several unknown languages before revealing the raven's name as Edgar Allan. With the raven's help, they easily enter Chamber 7. In Chapter 45, Ever reflects on his past as he watches his city burn, haunted by memories of previous slaughters. Seeking refuge, he heads to the library, where he finds an assistant indifferent to the impending danger. He contemplates the nature of time, realizing that the assistant might experience it differently than he does. Leaving the library, Ever encounters a mysterious woman sleeping by a pool, who he eventually recognizes as Livira, a figure from his past. They reconnect, discussing the devastating events outside and the portal that brought them together. Ever and Livira decide to use the pool to find a time of peace, together. In Chapter 46, Livira and Arpix search for a place to draw a portal using the blood they collected. After some anxiety, Livira successfully completes the portal, stepping through to find herself in the exchange's pools, where she reunites with Ever. The pair ventures through a new pool, emerging on a mountainside before a massive stone wolf head with a crowd of assistants watching them. They notice strange, blood-marked footprints leading away, possibly from children, raising questions about the assistant's nature. Livira and Ever explore further, discovering their ghostly existence, experimenting with their new abilities, and forming a deeper connection as they prepare to reach the city. In Chapter 47, Ever chases Livira through the sky, struggling to keep up as she outpaces him. The two bond as they explore an ancient, empty city where Ever notices strange, almost ghostly figures. Livira leads him into a grand temple-like hall filled with awe-inspiring architecture and strange carvings. They share a quiet moment reflecting on the beauty of the space. Ever, feeling an intense connection, is overwhelmed by Livira's proximity. Despite his hesitation, she pulls him into a kiss, bringing a sense of simplicity and clarity to their relationship, leaving Ever feeling both grateful and nervous. In Chapter 48, Livira and Ever share an intimate moment, but Livira remains cautious and reflective about their relationship. She expresses concerns about their perceptions, wondering if they're truly seeing each other or just their expectations. They explore the city and discover a gruesome scene of mass casualties, both human and Saber, victims of a deadly weapon. As they investigate further, Livira is haunted by the horror and realizes the city has been devastated by a catastrophic event. They attempt to leave, but as they arrive at a pool, they are attacked by a Saber, Clovis, who mistakes them for enemies. In Chapter 49, Livira faces the aftermath of her encounter with Ever, who reveals himself as a Saber. Bloodied and hurt, she tries to process the emotional turmoil while Arpix tends to her injuries. As Livira reflects on the exchange, she realizes that the illusions it created led her to see Ever as human, while he saw her as a Saber. Despite the physical healing in the center circle, her internal conflict remains unresolved. Arpix offers support, but Livira is left grappling with her feelings of betrayal and the painful realization about Ever's true nature. In Chapter 50, Ever intervenes to stop Clovis from attacking Livira, but he is left questioning his actions as Livira is hurt. Despite Clovis's anger and her attempts to harm Livira, Ever insists on staying by her side. As he comforts Livira, he feels a deep connection to her, realizing that she's the only one of her kind who hasn't harmed his people. Meanwhile, a new human, Arpix, appears and expresses concern for Livira. Ever and Clovis argue about their next move, but ultimately, Clovis forces Ever through a portal, leaving Livira behind, uncertain of their future. In Chapter 51, Livira struggles with unsettling dreams and a mysterious encounter with a boy she believes saw her while she was a ghost. She discusses the event with Arpix, who suggests it may be different from past experiences. The next morning, Livira seeks answers and visits Ute, where she learns of an impending Saber army. Ute reveals his past connection with Salamanda and shares his cryptic views on knowledge and the library's origin, citing a myth about Irad, the first librarian. Livira, frustrated by the mysteries, demands answers about the head librarian's striking resemblance to Ute. In Chapter 52, Ever faces accusations from his siblings after Clovis learns he kissed a Saber. Tensions rise as Clovis confronts him about his actions, and the group debates the ethics of the past and revenge. The assistant explains the impossibility of altering the past despite Clovis's obsession with confronting Sabers. Ever reflects on his relationship with Livira, torn between guilt and the need to return to her. Starvel and Carol engage with Ever, offering their perspectives on life and the mechanism. As Clovis approaches, Ever prepares for more conflict, unwilling to let her drag him back to the exchange for war. In Chapter 53, Livira confronts Ute about his mysterious past, especially his knowledge of her life and her people. As tensions rise, they hear distant sounds of conflict. Ute warns that the city will fall by night, advising people to flee or take refuge in the library. Livira, desperate to find Carlotta, is stopped by Malar, who insists it's too dangerous to go after her. Livira snatches a baby from the crowd to rally people to follow Ute to safety, but she soon realizes the Sabers have already breached the city. As they head to the library, Livira faces further challenges. In Chapter 54, Livira and her companions face chaos as Sabers attack the complex. Livira's search for Ute leads her through bloodshed, where she finds the dead body of a trainee and witnesses a fierce battle between Malar and a Saber. After rescuing Milan and Arpix, Livira and her group rush toward the library, where Ute, Yamala, and others await. They discover the Saber's knowledge of hidden doors that only certain beings can open, revealing a deeper mystery about the library. The chapter ends with Livira contemplating the consequences of the Saber's plans and the library's secretive nature. In Chapter 55, Livira and the group of survivors are led into the labyrinth for safety after a corrupt assistant attacks them. Yamala uses blood magic to summon assistance, but the corrupted assistant's arrival causes panic, resulting in a deadly confrontation. The group retreats, with Livira contemplating the fate of those she loves. After settling in the labyrinth, she reflects on the destruction outside and her own survival. Tension grows as distant sounds of a fight and explosions suggest approaching danger, possibly soldiers or Sabers. Livira, ever resourceful, climbs the shelves to gather information, sensing that their hiding place may not be safe for long. In Chapter 56, Livira and the group scramble to escape a fire raging through the library, a place where knowledge itself seems to be at risk. As they move through the labyrinthine shelves, Ute explains that the library's delicate balance between opposing forces allows fires to occur, but they cannot be prevented. Livira reveals she and Arpix have drawn a portal that could save them, though its magic stems from the blood of an assistant. As smoke and fire close in, panic rises, and Livira urgently pushes Ute to lead the group to safety. The fire spreads, and the group faces increasing danger from both flames and Sabers. In Chapter 57, Ever reflects on the complexity of his relationships with his siblings, particularly the dangerous Clovis. He strategizes to prevent her from returning to the exchange, knowing he cannot trust her. Starvel proposes a diversion to create a window of opportunity to act, but Ever fears the consequences of meddling with the mechanism. Amidst their planning, Clovis begins barreling toward the exchange, but the soldier intervenes, stopping her. Ever is pulled into the pool, emerging in a forest where Livira and other sabbers appear. As tensions rise, Clovis confronts them, and the situation nearly escalates into violence before a mysterious intervention halts it. In Chapter 58, Livira struggles to recover from Clovis's attack while trying to reach the unconscious Malar. Ute and Clovis exchange words about the history of their people, revealing the tragic past of a peace that was destroyed by a third race's chemical attack. Ute explains how he gave up his immortality to help prevent such destruction, having witnessed a peaceful coexistence between their races. Meanwhile, Lord Alger rejects Ute's account, blaming the Sabbers for the devastation. Tensions escalate when Clovis threatens Ever and Livira, but Ever intervenes, showing determination to protect Livira even if it means destroying everything. Livira's desperate cry for help highlights Malar's critical condition. In Chapter 59, Evar rushes to save Livira's injured companion, Malar, who has been fatally wounded. Despite the danger from escalating Sabber attacks and the library burning, Ever carries Malar to the center circle, where the healing radiance begins to revive him. Livira, determined to join Ever, follows him through the stacks, despite the risks. Malar's wound, inflicted by Clovis, begins to heal as he wakes, showing gratitude mixed with hostility toward Ever. Tensions rise as Livira grapples with her emotions, and Ever reflects on his painful longing and the fragility of relationships. In Chapter 60, Livira communicates with Malar, expressing gratitude for his life-saving actions despite his rough demeanor. The group, including Livira, Malar, and Evar, prepares to return to their mission. Livira reflects on her responsibility to help Ute and her connection to the people she left behind. The conversation deepens as Livira and Evar share a profound emotional moment upon realizing they are connected through the same mysterious book. Their journey continues as they approach a door in the library that Livira cannot open, leading to tense questions about its purpose and safety. In Chapter 61, Evar battles overwhelming memories that flood his mind as he approaches a door. With Livira, he faces 3 massive insectoid creatures guarding the way. As a fight ensues, the soldier, Malar, and the creatures clash violently, and the soldier orders Ever and Livira to flee. They escape and reach a pool, where they meet the assistant. The assistant reveals her inability to open doors, but leaves to help the soldier. Ever, torn between his feelings for Livira and the assistant, decides to take Livira to safety. They escape together through the pool, leaving the past behind. In Chapter 62, Ever and Livira return to the exchange, where tensions continue between Clovis, Ute, and the refugees. Livira is reunited with 2 of her old friends, Nera and Katrine, but tensions rise as the refugees are on edge. Livira anxiously waits for the arrival of her companions, but when a smoke-blackened man emerges from the portal, it becomes clear that Arpix and the others may not make it. Livira decides to go after them, promising Ute that she can manipulate time to return. She, Ever, and Malar prepare to leave, despite the growing danger around them. In Chapter 63, Livira, Evar, and Malar navigate the smoky, maze-like library in search of Arpix and the others. Livira calls for Valente, the large hound, who arrives to help guide them by sniffing out a specific book. Asterisk. A History of the Gratatak Cavern Wars, Volume 6, Asterisk. As they move through the burning library, they encounter obstacles, but Valente leads them to Chamber 29. They eventually track down a group of Kneath warriors who had caused the fire. Livira recognizes one of them, a priest, who seems to notice her. The situation escalates as Livira's connection to a book becomes central to the unfolding tension. In Chapter 64, Evar wakes in a surreal, dreamlike landscape with Livira by his side. They discuss the mysterious nature of the place, questioning whether it's real or a memory. Livira teases him about their shared past and her writings, revealing that her stories often centered around herself, not him. As they journey through the landscape, they come to a lake and discuss their fears, their bond, and the concept of stories shaping identity. When a storm cloud approaches, Livira admits that the library, where their memories are stored, is burning, marking a profound loss. In Chapter 65, Livira and Ever find themselves caught in a dangerous moment as Kneath warriors clash nearby. Livira reflects on the significance of the book, realizing it might be the key to her survival. She shares her belief that it ties into the future, and she and Evar discuss the potential consequences of manipulating time. As the chaos subsides, Levira spots her friend Carlotte among the enemy Kneath, but Carlotte cannot see her. Levira struggles with the reality of Carlotte's situation, realizing they can't help her, and resolves to leave, despite the painful truth that time may be running out. In Chapter 67, Levira, Ever, and Malar race against the encroaching smoke and flames. Levira and Malar plan to possess assistants by fighting the escapes within them. Levira successfully overtakes one escape, reclaiming control of an assistant. After a tense battle, they retrieve a sword and rush to the center circle, where their group is trapped by smoke and fire. Levira, struggling with her detachment after taking control of the assistant's body, asks Malar to cut her, defying the rules to open a portal for their escape. Despite resistance, she insists, and a painful ritual begins to unfold. In Chapter 68, Evar grapples with the aftermath of a chaotic confrontation. Levira, after using a forbidden ritual, vanishes into a portal, leaving Evar desperate to follow her. As he emerges into the exchange, he finds his brother Mayland alive but hostile. Mayland, now determined to destroy the library, kills Yamala to prove his commitment to his cause, claiming that compromise is a destructive force. Amid the turmoil, Ever's focus remains solely on Levira, and he rushes toward the pool, reflecting on his past mistakes and the weight of his choices. In Chapter 69, Levira navigates the exchange, a complex nexus linking different worlds. Despite her growing corruption and fading memories, she finds a crucial book that survives the fire consuming the library. The book represents knowledge that could destabilize time. Levira writes a message to Ever, urging him to find her at the bottom of the exchange. Meanwhile, the assistant and soldier continue their pursuit of the unburned book. They face challenges, including a dangerous fire and their dwindling resources, but eventually, the assistant creates a portal to a forest, awaiting further action while maintaining a tense stillness. In Chapter 70, Ever returns home, determined to find Levira. He encounters her lifeless body, surrounded by dead skier, and grieves deeply. Levira's spirit briefly returns, urging him to rise and fight. Ever faces the remaining skier, preparing to die defending her. However, Clovis and Carol arrive, swiftly defeating the creatures. Afterward, Ever laments Levira's loss, while Carol hints that the book may hold more importance than Ever realizes. He reveals that Levira may not be entirely gone and suggests they find her. The siblings move forward, with Carol leading them toward their next battle.